So, welcome back to the Organizedpreneur Podcast Launchpad. Um, my name is Aldreama Harper. I am the host, and I'm jumping on because I wanted to kind of reintroduce you to the podcast. This podcast is it's a couple of years old, and sometimes I feel like I just need like a refresh. And so that's for those of you who are new to the podcast, or maybe you've been a long time listener, or what have you. And I just felt like it was time for a refresh. So, um, again, I said welcome.
In the podcast jungle with a mic to machete, Aldreama Harper, she ready and steady. Organizedpreneur with a plan, never petty. Dropping gems, got my thoughts feeling heavy. Podcast launchpad where the
So,
dreams take flight. Entrepreneurial spirit out of sight.
I've spoken to quite a few female entrepreneurs. That is primarily who I work with, and so whether you are, a coach or a service-based provider, or virtual assistant or consultant, and you're looking to serve clients, to create content, and you just want to do some amazing things without feeling all of the overwhelm and the disorganization and all of that stuff that keeps you stuck, right? I want to welcome you to this podcast. Now, I felt like I needed to do a refresh on this particular episode because it's about maybe going on 3 years old. As you may know, that I've been podcasting for quite some time, but this one is the one that I've been hosting for quite some time. And so I wanted to do a refresh just so that I can kind of help people understand why this podcast exists. And I just don't want to confuse my listeners. Okay. And I think sometimes when I introduce myself, as the host of the Organizedpreneur Podcast Launchpad, which is, by the way, had several iterations. It's had several names, several descriptions, several different audience, but this one is the one that is here to stay unless the Lord leads me otherwise. So the show was created to help you not only start a podcast, but to integrate podcast into your business as a launch pad for lead generation, for visibility, and for growth. Now, I haven't always described it in that way. However, this is something that I've been doing for quite some time. And I didn't even have a name for the methodology that I was using. And so that's why I felt like there was a need to do a refresh, reintroduction of the Organizedpreneur Podcast Launchpad. And so with this podcast, there are 3 things that I want to help you do. Number 1, I want to help you to organize your message, clarify your niche, launch a podcast using some smart tools, and be stress-free in doing so. Like, no confusion, not wasting a whole bunch of time, just clarity and action taking. So That's number one. Number two, host your virtual events. I show people how to host events and leverage those events to create an immersive experience with potential clients, right? So whether it's a 5-day challenge, whether it's a master class, host a virtual event. The number three is to grow your email list. Okay, grow your email list. And once you launch your podcast, once you host your event, you grow your email list, and right, it helps you to connect with those who want to hear from you. Okay, it deepens the trust with your audience. And so it's rooted in strategy, systems, and spirit led. I don't always define or share what the podcast is all about or what the content is all about. And I don't want to assume that people know when they jump on. This is a more strategic, a more intentional podcast that where I talk about the things that I do, the strategies that I use. But guess what? I didn't even have a name for it. I've been doing these things for years. Like I've been podcasting for years. I've been hosting virtual events. I used to even do these in person before we all kind of, shut down. And I've always had an email list, but I didn't have a name for it. I didn't have a framework. I didn't have a methodology, right? And so that's what I kind of wanted. That's what I really wanted to share with you all today. So this is for female solopreneurs. If you're a new or emerging podcaster and you want to stay consistent or start strong, if you're ready to launch a podcast and lead generating events, if you are a faith-based coach, consultant, service-based entrepreneur who wants to grow your reach without burning out, because I'm here to tell you, if you are all over the place throwing spaghetti on the wall, you are going to burn out eventually because you're not going to see the results that you want. Ask me how I know. Okay? So this is where I'm going to be teaching on the podcast, in the virtual events, as well as in my newsletter. I'll be teaching you how to use tools to create, different types of content, how to automate your workflows, create lead magnets, things like that. And this type of content is for you if that's what you're looking for. So I wanted to do this because I wanted to be clear and very intentional and do like a reintroduction of the podcast. Because now that I have even a little bit more clarity about how I help people in their businesses, then I needed to share that with you. So I'll be dropping content covering how to launch your podcast, how to do virtual events, monetization and email growth. things like that. And so I don't want you to be confused about what you're going to get when you listen to my episodes. Okay? But that's the thing, like you don't need to do more. You really just need the right system, the right strategy, and a little bit of support. And that's how I want to help you. Okay? And so I said just a second ago I didn't have a name, or did I say it? So I didn't really have a name for what I was doing. So the methodology is the launch, host, and grow methodology. It's a framework that I've been using for years and didn't really have a name for it. And so I'm not changing the name of the podcast. The podcast is going to continue to be the Organizedpreneur Podcast Launchpad, because that's where it all starts. Okay. And so, but I definitely wanted to make sure that I reintroduce the podcast so that people are clear about what the expectations are. Hope that makes sense. So I just want you to know that I really love what I do. I love helping female entrepreneurs. Now, that doesn't mean I exclude men, okay? Since I've worked more with female entrepreneurs, that's what the language is. So, but you're welcome to join. All of my male entrepreneurs that fit that category, or you fit that description where you're looking for those same things, you're definitely welcome. So, but I felt like a refresh was necessary. I just felt like it was necessary because I felt like my message was getting a little convoluted. And I definitely wanted to make sure that I said it in a way that where it was communicated more effectively, so that those who want to be here are here, and those that don't want to be here are not here. Now, I'm not saying all of this because anything happened. I'm only saying this because I felt like I wasn't clear on my messaging, and that's what I wanted to do, was get clear on my messaging. And you can't be clear on your messaging until you know who you're helping, you know who your target audience is, and that's more of when you get clear on your messaging and who you're talking to. So listen. I'm super excited about the intentional direction that the podcast is taking. And so that leads me to my next point, is that, of course, I'll be creating more intentional and more focused content, courses, the coaching programs, that also is going to be impacted, right? Now, I have a lot of content out there. I have a lot of courses. I have, programs, but I felt like it wasn't complete because I wasn't sharing everything that I did with you. And those are the three things. Those are the three elements that you need in order to in order to generate leads, convert leads, to retain clients and customers. You need those three elements, those three components. And podcasting, virtual events, and email lists are the elements that work together, because it builds a foundation for your business. If you don't have leads coming in, then you're not likely to continue to have a business. And so that's what I want to help you do. So I'm being very, very strategic and intentional about the content that I will be creating and that you'll be hearing from this point on. And so that there's no confusion. Make sure that you continue to tune in. If you are listening or watching this episode at this time and you feel like, well, you know what, I kind of need to move on, that's perfectly okay. If you feel like you don't want to hear content that is based on biblical principles and a faith-led foundation, then this is probably not for you, because all of that is going to be included in the content. So I wanted to do an episode refresh. So I hope that you continue to hang around, stay tuned for more amazing content. I believe that it's amazing. That's going to serve you in a more authentic and intentional way. And the last thing I wanted to say was that, the scripture says that out of the heart flows the issues of life, meaning out of the heart flows, everything flows. And so I wanted to do this refresh episode because these are the things that's flowing out of my heart. And so I didn't want anyone to be confused about what the content was about. Nobody came to me or anything like that and said, "Oh, I'm confused." No, nobody came to me and said that, even though there may have been people that were, confused. But I just kept feeling like, okay, I need to make sure that I do this. So I want to welcome you to the refresh, more intentional episode of the Organizedpreneur Podcast Launchpad. So welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. All right. So be blessed. And I will talk to you soon on the next episode. All right. Talk to you later.
Every episode, knowledge taking flight, getting organized, keep the hustle tight. All dreamers got the wisdom, breaking it down.